Welcome back, mathematicians. Today we start chapter 6, Algebra. Let's first have a look at the algebra basics. Well, in algebra we have equations and we have algebraic expressions. The only difference between these two is the equal sign. So if there's an equal sign, it is called an algebraic equation. No equal sign, an expression. Let's have a look at our expression. The expression has many parts to it. The first thing we're going to have a look at are the number of terms. Terms are always separated by a plus or a minus. So this algebraic expression has two terms. There's my negative, that is negative 5x cubed, and my second term is positive 3. The sign belongs to the coefficient or the variable that follows it. The constant, that is always the number value. In this case, the constant is positive 3. In an algebraic expression, we have constants and variables. The variables are the letters in the expression. So the variable in this expression is x. It's a variable because it will change depending on the value assigned to it. The next thing we look at is the coefficient. The coefficient is a number that is multiplied with the variable. So in this case, the coefficient of x cubed is negative 5. And remember, the negative is part of that coefficient. The exponent, well, in this case, the exponent is 3, x to the power 3, so 3 is our exponent. Algebraic expressions can be monomial. We have one term. That's a monomial. A binomial, if you think of bicycle, bi means two. So binomial will be an algebraic expression with two terms. A trinomial will be an expression with three terms. Tri, we think of tricycle, 3 wheels, so we have 3 terms in this algebraic expression. Polynomial is made up of any number, one or more algebraic terms. Let's look at the terms. What makes something a term? Terms are separated by addition, by a plus sign or a minus sign. That's how we separate our terms. Important things to remember, root signs. So because I have a root sign, this will make this one term. So a root sign makes an expression one term. So even if I have 4a squared plus b minus c, that will still be one term because it's the whole expression under the root sign. Brackets also make an expression one term. So 4 plus 3a minus b is one term. Fractions are also considered to be one term because essentially what we have here is that divided by that. And remember, terms are separated by plus or minus signs, so that is also one term. The coefficient, remember what we said, the sign belongs to the number before the variable. The sign belongs to the term that follows. To summarize, please go and learn those facts and be able to identify them. There's certain things that you need to know, certain basics. We've dealt with this in exponents. A equals a to the power of 1, or a also means 1a. Anything to the power of 0 equals 1. Here we are multiplying, and laws of exponents said when we multiply powers with the same base, write down the base and add exponents. Remember, just from above, all of these were a to the 1, so it's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. That will give you a to the power of 4. If I've got a plus, a plus, a plus, how many terms are there? Well, there are 4 terms. What term? 4 a terms. Notice the difference between a to the 4 and 4a. 4a also means 4 multiplied by a. When we deal with algebra, it makes life a lot simpler or easier to understand if we rewrite a division as a divided by 3. 5 multiplied by a is 5a. M times n, m, remember that dot there also means multiply, and that will be mn. B times A times C, we always arrange them in alphabetical order. Again, I could go A, B, C, which equals A, B, C. When we multiply numbers and variables together, I first deal with the signs. Well, all of these are positive, so my result is going to be positive 3. How many m's do I have multiplied together? Well, there's 1 there and 1 there, so it's m squared n. This means 2 multiplied by the square root of 25, which will equal 2 multiplied by 5, which will equal 10. Negative 4c cubed actually means negative 4 multiplied by c multiplied by c multiplied by c. 2 brackets together like this means multiply. So the first thing I do, remember we do signs, then numbers, then letters or variables. All of these are positive, so my answer will be positive. Numbers, I have the number 5 multiplied by 3. 5 3s are 15. A times B is AB. Let's have a look at these. What this means is negative, I'm only squaring the 3. So it's negative 3 multiplied by 3, which will equal negative 9. If the negative is in the bracket, it means negative 3 multiplied by negative 3. A negative multiplied by a negative is positive. 3 times 3 is 9, which equals 9. Negative 3 squared means the same as this. So only the 3 is being squared. So it will be negative 3 multiplied by 3, which equals a negative multiplied by a positive is negative. 3 times 3 is 9. Let's have a look at these worked examples. So one of the things you have to do, the first thing you have to do in algebra is identify how many terms. Remember we said that a term is separated by a plus or a minus. So we glance across like this. There is my first negative. So everything in front of that is a term. I run my eyes along to my next add or subtract. Everything in front of that is one term, and then this is my last term. So here we have 3 terms. Let's look at the next example. I have a minus sign here, but remember the brackets make it one term, so this expression has one term. Let's look at this. What does that actually mean? You need to always ask yourself, what does that mean? So bracket C actually means that whole bracket is multiplied by C. Once again, my subtraction sign is in the bracket, so this is one term, but it is multiplied to C, so this whole expression is one term. If I look at the last example here, there's my plus, there's my minus, but remember, this actually means divide, and we are dividing this whole expression by 3, and that is why the fraction is also just one term. So this is also one term. Okay, write down the coefficient of b in each of the following expressions. Well, this is what I like to call the Topix rule. So I have, first of all, we circle our terms. I only have one term. I've got to find the coefficient of b, so I'm going to take my Topix and I'm going to Topix out the b, and so the coefficient of b will be 2ac. Let's have a look at this expression. Why is it an expression? Well, because there is no equal sign. Okay, the first thing I always do in algebra is circle my terms. I have 3 terms, and a 3-term polynomial is known as a trinomial. I look for b, the term with b, which is this one here. I ignore the other 2. They don't even feature in this picture. I get my Topix. I Topix out my b, and what am I left with? I'm left with -2. So the coefficient of b is -2. So here it will be -2. Right, number 3 says write down the expression in question 1 and circle the constant term. Well, a constant term is always a number, because no matter what the variables are, it will never affect the constant term, because that can never change its value. So the constant term is +5 or 5. Let's test your understanding. State the number of terms in each of the following expressions. Well, there's a minus sign, there's a plus sign, but this one has a bracket. And remember, this is a fraction, so we have this fraction divided by AB. Remember, we look for plus and minuses, so this is actually one term. Let's look at the next one. Well, in this one, I have 1 plus sign. So how many terms do we have here? Of means multiply. So everything, this is my first plus or minus sign, everything in front of it is one term. So in this case, we have 2 terms, also known as a binomial. Write down the coefficient of b. Well, the first thing I do is circle my terms. I only have one term. It's a monomial. I get the Topix. I Topix b out. Why can I not have 0? Okay, if I have 0, it means that I have nothing. So what you have to remember is that in actual fact, in front of b, we have a 1. So if I use my Topix rule, the coefficient would be 1. Okay, let's have a look at this. The first thing we do in algebra is circle our terms. Here's a plus, everything in front of the plus is one term. I have 2 terms. This is called a binomial. I'm looking for my term with a b in it, so I ignore that, get the Topix the b out, and I'm left with -2. So the coefficient of b in this expression is -2. Let's have a look at this expression. How many terms? Well, I only have one term. I get the Topix out. I'm looking for the coefficient of b, so the coefficient of b is going to be 2 over 3a. Just at this point, I want to highlight that we can write that it also equals 2a over b over 3. So the a can either go with the numerator or it can go alongside the fraction. Let's look at the last one, 4a squared b. First thing I do is circle the terms. There's one term. There's the next term. Topix rule. Topix out. Remember, we discarded this term because it has no b in it. Can I just have a coefficient of negative? No, I can't. So let's just remember what we do. This is negative 1b. So after I discard that, use the Topix. The coefficient of b in that case is -1. That's all for today. Please will you go and do exercise 6.1. Thank you.